The principal's voice was shaking when she called. "Mr. Rogers, I don't know what else to do. We have a child. His name is Tommy, and he's hurting other children. Every day. He pushes them, hits them. Yesterday he gave another boy a black eye. How old is Tommy?" Fred asked. 9. "And Mr. Rogers, we've tried everything. Detention, suspension, meetings with his mother. Nothing works. He just keeps hurting people? What does his father say?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line. His father is part of the problem." Fred was quiet for a moment. Then he said something the principal didn't expect. "I'd like to meet with Tommy's father." "Not Tommy, his father. Mr. Rogers, I don't think you understand. The father he's not a good man. He drinks. He's violent. The school counselor thinks he's abusing Tommy. That's why Tommy acts out." "I understand," Fred said gently. "That's why I want to meet with him." "But why? Tommy is the one hurting children. Tommy is the problem." "No," Fred said quietly. "Tommy is the symptom. His father is the problem. And until we help the father, we can't help Tommy." Tommy Martinez was the most hated child at Lincoln Elementary School. He was 9 years old, and he'd been suspended 4 times already that year. For fighting, for pushing a girl down the stairs, for throwing a chair at a teacher. The other children were terrified of him. Parents had started complaining to the school board. Some were threatening to pull their kids out if Tommy wasn't expelled. The teachers had given up on him. "He's a lost cause," they'd say in the break room. "Some kids are just born mean." But Fred Rogers didn't believe that. He'd spent his entire career working with children, and he knew something that most people didn't understand. Children aren't born mean. They're made mean. By pain, by trauma, by adults who hurt them. And Tommy Martinez was in pain. Fred called the school back the next day. "I'd like Tommy's father's phone number and address." The principal hesitated. "Mr. Rogers, are you sure about this? Robert Martinez, Tommy's father, he's not stable. He lost his job 6 months ago. The neighbors say he drinks all day. And we suspect he hits Tommy." "All the more reason to reach out to him," Fred said. "But what if he's dangerous? Then I'll be careful. But I won't abandon him. Or Tommy." The principal gave Fred the address, 3247 Maple Street, a small house on the edge of Pittsburgh, in a neighborhood where hope had died a long time ago. Fred Rogers showed up at Robert Martinez's house on a Thursday afternoon. He knocked on the door. No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. Then he heard a voice from inside, slurred, angry. "Go away. I'm not buying anything." "Mr. Martinez, my name is Fred Rogers. I'm not selling anything. I'd like to talk to you about your son." There was a long silence. Then the door opened a crack. A man stood there, mid-30s, unshaven, wearing a stained undershirt. The smell of alcohol rolled out of the house like a wave. Robert Martinez looked at Fred with bloodshot eyes. "You're from the school, aren't you? Come to tell me what a piece of shit my kid is. How he's ruining everyone's lives." "No," Fred said calmly. "I came to ask if you're okay." Robert blinked, like he'd been slapped. "What?" "I came to ask if you're okay. You've been through a lot recently. I heard you lost your job." Robert's face hardened. "Who the hell are you?" "My name is Fred Rogers. I work with children. And I know that when a child is hurting others, it's usually because someone is hurting them. And I wanted to check on you, to see if you're all right." Robert stared at this man in a cardigan standing on his porch. This stranger who was asking if he was okay. No one had asked Robert if he was okay in 6 months. His boss had fired him. His wife had left him. His neighbors avoided him. His own son flinched when he walked into a room. No one cared if Robert Martinez, Was okay. Until this man in a cardigan showed up at his door. Robert's eyes filled with tears. And then, without warning, he started crying. Not quiet tears. Deep, body-shaking sobs. Fred didn't move. He just stood there, waiting, giving Robert space to fall apart. After a long moment, Robert wiped his face with his hand. I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that. You did it because you're in pain, Fred said gently. And pain needs to come out somehow. Robert looked at Fred, really looked at him for the first time. Why do you care? Because you matter. And because your son matters. And I think you're both hurting. Robert was quiet. Then he stepped aside. You want to come in? Yes, Fred said. I'd like that very much. Asterisk Fred Rogers sat at Robert Martinez's kitchen table. The house was a mess. Empty beer bottles everywhere. Dishes piled in the sink. The smell of despair thick in the air. Robert sat across from him, hands shaking. You said you work with children. So you know about Tommy, about what he's been doing. I know he's been hurting other children. Yes. They're gonna expel him. The principal told me. Said if he gets in one more fight, he's out. And I don't know what to do. Fred leaned forward slightly. Can I ask you something, Robert? Sure. When did you lose your job? Robert looked down at his hands. 6 months ago. I was working construction. Got hurt on the job. Back injury. Couldn't work anymore. No insurance. No disability. Nothing. That must have been very difficult. It was the beginning of the end. Lost the job. Couldn't pay the bills. My wife? She left. Took our daughter. Left Tommy with me because she said I needed to take responsibility. But I can't even take care of myself. How am I supposed to take care of a kid? And the drinking? Robert's jaw tightened. It helps. For a little while. Makes the pain go away. What pain? All of it. The back pain. The shame. The fact that I'm a failure. That I ruined my family. That my son hates me. Does Tommy hate you? Robert's voice cracked. He should. I've been a terrible father. I yell at him. Sometimes I hit him. Not hard, but I do. And I hate myself for it. But I'm so angry all the time. And he's there. And he looks at me like I'm a monster. Fred was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something Robert wasn't expecting. You're not a monster, Robert. You're a man in pain. And pain makes us do things we're not proud of. That's not an excuse. No, it's not. But it's an explanation. And understanding why we do things is the first step to changing them. Robert looked at Fred. Why are you here? Really? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. I'm here because Tommy is hurting other children. And I believe Tommy is hurting other children because he's being hurt at home. And I believe you're hurting him because you're being hurt by life. And if we want to stop the cycle, we have to start at the source. I'm the source. Yes, but that also means you're the solution. Fred visited Robert Martinez 3 times that week. He didn't lecture him, didn't judge him, didn't tell him he was a bad father. He just listened. Robert talked about losing his job, about the injury that had stolen his livelihood, about the shame of not being able to provide for his family, about his wife leaving, about the drinking. And Fred listened. Really listened. The way he listened to children on his show. On the 3rd visit, Fred asked a question. Robert, do you know why Tommy is hurting other children at school? Because he's angry. Like me. Yes, but do you know what he's angry about? Robert shook his head. He's angry because he feels powerless. He can't control what's happening at home. He can't make you stop drinking. He can't make you stop yelling. He can't bring his mother back. So he tries to control the only thing he can. Other children. He hurts them because it makes him feel powerful. For just a moment, Robert closed his eyes. God, I did this to him. Yes, but you can also undo it. How? By getting help. For yourself. And then by helping him. Fred connected Robert with a counselor. A good one. Someone who specialized in trauma and addiction. Robert resisted at first. I don't need therapy. I just need a job. You need both, Fred said gently. You need a job to support your family. But you need healing to be the father Tommy needs. What if it's too late? What if I've already ruined him? It's never too late. Children are resilient. If you change, he'll see it. And he'll change too. Robert started therapy the next week. It was hard. Harder than anything he'd ever done. He had to confront the pain he'd been drowning in alcohol. He had to admit that he'd been hurting his son. He had to learn new ways to cope with anger and shame. But he did it, and slowly, so slowly, things started to change. 3 weeks after Fred's first visit, something happened at Lincoln Elementary School. Tommy Martinez got into another fight. A bad one. A boy had called him a name, and Tommy had exploded. Hit the boy. Gave him a bloody nose. The principal called Robert. Mr. Martinez, I'm sorry, but this is it. Tommy is expelled. Effective immediately. Robert hung up the phone. And for the first time in 6 months, he didn't reach for a bottle. He called his therapist. They talked for an hour, and then Robert did something he'd never done before. He picked Tommy up from school, and instead of yelling at him, he sat him down and said, Tommy, I know why you're angry, and I know it's my fault. Tommy stared at his father, waiting for the yelling, for the hitting, for the anger, but it didn't come. Instead, his father started crying. I've been a terrible father. I've been drinking. I've been yelling. I've been hurting you. And you've been hurting other kids because that's what you learned from me. And I'm so sorry. Tommy didn't say anything. He just sat there frozen. Robert continued. I'm getting help. I'm seeing a therapist. I'm trying to stop drinking. I'm trying to be better. And I want to help you be better too. But I need you to know something first. What? It's not your fault. None of this is your fault. Not me losing my job. Not your mom leaving. Not any of it. You're just a kid. And you deserve better than what I've been giving you. Tommy's face crumpled. And then he did something he hadn't done in months. He hugged his father, and they both cried. Fred Rogers visited the Martinez house one more time, 6 weeks later. Robert answered the door. He looked different, clean-shaven, sober. His eyes were clearer. Fred. Come in. The house looked different, too. Clean, organized. The beer bottles were gone. You look good. Robert, I feel better. Not great, but better. I've been sober for 5 weeks. Longest I've been sober in. I don't even know how long. That's wonderful. And Tommy? Tommy's doing better too. He's back in school. Different school. Fresh start. His teacher says he hasn't gotten in a single fight. That's amazing. Robert's eyes filled with tears. I don't know how to thank you. You could have come here and lectured me. Told me I was a bad father. Told me to get my act together. But you didn't. You saw me. You asked if I was okay. And that changed everything. Fred smiled. You did the hard work, Robert. You chose to change. You chose to get help. That took courage. I did it for Tommy. He deserves a father who's present, who's sober, who doesn't hurt him. He deserves that. And so do you. 2 months later, Fred received a letter. It was from Tommy Martinez, written in a child's handwriting. Dear Mr. Rogers, my name is Tommy. My dad said you came to our house and talked to him. He said you helped him. I don't know what you said to him, but he's different now. He doesn't yell as much. He doesn't drink. He listens to me, and I'm different too. I don't hit kids anymore. I still get angry sometimes. But my dad is teaching me how to talk about it instead of hitting. My teacher says I'm doing good. She says I'm making progress. Thank you for helping my dad. Because when you helped him, you helped me too. Love. Tommy Fred read the letter 3 times. Then he called the principal at Lincoln Elementary. How is Tommy doing? The principal sighed. Mr. Rogers, I have to admit, I didn't think it would work. I thought Tommy was a lost cause. But he's a different child. He's been at his new school for 2 months and hasn't gotten in a single fight. His teachers say he's kind, helpful. He even defended a kid who was being bullied last week, verbally, without violence. That's wonderful. What did you do? What did you say to his father? I asked him if he was okay. That's it? That's it. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is see someone's pain and acknowledge it. Robert wasn't a bad person. He was a hurting person. And hurting people hurt people. But when we help them heal, they stop hurting others. Fred Rogers never made an episode about Tommy or Robert Martinez. He never told their story publicly, because some stories are too sacred to broadcast. But Fred carried that story with him for the rest of his life, because it proved something he'd always believed. There are no bad children, only hurt children. And behind every hurt child is a hurt adult. If we want to help children, we have to help the adults who are hurting them, not by punishing them, not by condemning them, but by seeing their pain, by acknowledging their humanity, by offering them a path to healing. Years later, in 2001, Fred was giving a speech at a conference about childhood development. Someone in the audience asked, "Mr. Rogers, what do you do when a child is violent? When they're hurting other children?" Fred was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I asked myself, who was hurting this child? Because children don't become violent in a vacuum. They learn violence from somewhere, usually from home. So instead of just punishing the child, I try to find the source of their pain. And often, that source is a parent who is themselves in pain. And if we can help that parent heal, we can help the child heal. It's not easy. It takes time. It takes compassion. It takes believing that people can change. But I've seen it work. I've seen violent children become gentle. I've seen abusive parents become loving. Because hurt people hurt people. But healed people heal people. Tommy Martinez grew up. He didn't become famous. He didn't become rich. But he became kind. He became a teacher. Elementary school, working with children who struggled. Children who were angry. Children who hurt others. And he understood them. Because he'd been them. When his students acted out, when they hit or pushed or yelled, Tommy didn't punish them. He asked them, "What's hurting you?" And then he listened. Just like Fred Rogers had listened to his father. In 2003. When Fred Rogers died, Tommy, now 35 years old, wrote an essay. I never met Fred Rogers, not personally, but he saved my life anyway. When I was 9, I was a bully. I hurt other kids. I was angry all the time. I was becoming a monster. And then Fred Rogers came to my house, not to see me, to see my father, and he didn't lecture him, didn't judge him, didn't tell him he was a terrible parent. He just asked, "Are you okay?" And that question changed everything. My father got help. He stopped drinking. He stopped hitting me. He became the father I needed, and I stopped being a bully. I stopped hurting people. I learned that anger doesn't have to turn into violence. I'm a teacher now. I work with kids who are just like I was. Angry, hurting, lashing out. And I do what Fred Rogers did for my father. I see their pain. I acknowledge it. I help them heal. Because Fred Rogers taught me the most important lesson I've ever learned. Hurt people hurt people. But healed people Heal people. Thank you, Mr. Rogers, for seeing my father's pain and for saving both of us.